Divine grace of the Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Padma Pranidrakacharya Stotra Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sarivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Mayapur Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Nuramanveti Dham ki jai. Tulasi Maharani ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Yamuna Mai ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Nitai Go Premanande Hari Go Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Grace the Assembly, grace the Assembly, grace the Assembly, grace to Sri Sri Guru Gaura. Hare Krishna. So I'll read you small pastimes of Srila Prabhupada regarding paintings. Janava. Prabhupada on his asana in his large reception room beneath the picture of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Paintings were stacked all around the room to await his evaluation. Present were Jayadvaita, Muralidhara, Parikshit, Jodhurani, Pushkar, a photographer, and myself. Srila Prabhupada was very businesslike and fairly aloof. Later, upon reflection, it seems to me that his aloofness by Prabhupada was actually a major step in weaning the art department away from his constant supervision and their habit of always asking him questions during his visits and by letters. There was one painting of Lord Krishna who was sitting and looking very sad because he could not find Radharani. Prabhupada asked what is the pastime was, but then he objected and said, Krishna does not lament. That artist Jodhurani appeared very discouraged to have misrepresented Krishna. Prabhupada continued discussing the other painting, but then he turned to Jodhurani and remarked, it's all right. The painting can be used to show another pastime when Krishna had a headache. Srila Prabhupada ki. So all the news that we all need to know, it's all in the newsletter. But just that few, tomorrow is Ekadashi and Ramananda Gaur has a program in his house beginning at 6 o'clock with Prabhupada's memory. Every Ekadashi you will have. So please try to visit if you can. And also, Radhikesh Prabhu and Premanjali Mataji is hosting a wonderful Saranagati Immersion retreat in Gainesville, first weekend in Kartik, November 4th and 5th, from 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. at the Gainesville Retreat Center with Krishna Abhishek Prabhu. You can talk to Radhikesh Prabhu and Premanjali people. And these are the devotees who assisted their spiritual master in dressing the deities today. Monday, Shri Radha Shema Sundar by Nanda Devi Dasi, Choto Radha Shema Sundar by Madhuri Gopi Devi Dasi, Shri Krishna Balaram Devarata Das and Guru Prasad Devi Dasi, Choto Krishna Balaram Gandharvika Devi Dasi, Shri Gaurnitai Govinda Sangini Devi Dasi, Choto Gaurnitai Gopal Naika Devi Dasi, Gurus and Lord Nishina Devi Leela Devi Dasi,
And we are very proud to present Akrura Prabhu, a very scholarly Prabhu. And this is first time I'm seeing him giving class, so I'm very excited, and I hope all of you are excited.
Just to remind you, tomorrow we serve prasadam first. So from 6 to 7, it's going to be prasadam. 7 o'clock, Mahatma Prabhu is going to let us know how he met Srila Prabhupada. And then, we're going to have heavy-duty bhajans, Ekadasi bhajans by the bhajaneers. I think Amala Purana is coming and Kishore and all that. So Ekadasi is a good day to be chanting. Come on over. You can go to MSR4, we have the post there. Thank you, Prabhuji.
We're going to take a photo for the Facebook. You have to smile and speak.
Smile and speak?
Yeah, that's good. This is for the Facebook because you are first time.
I hope I don't miss it. Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Bhatta Janna Nandana Yashoda Nandana Bhatta Janna Nandana Janatira Bhanachari Yamuna Tira Vandachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai, Namaste Das Thakur Ki Jai, Pramsika Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasti Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Rupa Sanatana Nikuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako, Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.
Gaura Premanandi, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswating Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So today we're reading from Canto 3, Chapter 2, entitled Remembrance of Lord Krishna, and verse number 19. Drishta bhavadbhir nanurajasuye. Drishta bhavadbhir nanurajasuye. Chaydasya Krishnam Vishatopi Siddhihi. Chaydasya Krishnam Vishatopi Siddhihi. Yam yoginat samsprihayanti samyag. Yam yoginat samsprihayanti samyag. Yogena kastad viraham saheta. Yogena kastad viraham saheta. Drishta bhavadbhir nanurajasuye. Drishta bhavadbhir nanurajasuye. Chaydasya Krishnam Vishatopi Siddhihi. Chaydasya Krishnam Vishatopi Siddhihi. Yam yoginat samsprihayanti samyag. Yam yoginat samsprihayanti samyag. Yogena kastad viraham saheta. Yogena kastad viraham saheta. Drishta bhavadbhir nanurajasuye. Drishta bhavadbhir nanurajasuye. Chaydasya Krishnam Vishatopi Siddhihi. Chaydasya Krishnam Vishatopi Siddhihi. Yam yogina samsprihayanti samyag. Yam yogina samsprihayanti samyag. Yogena kastad viraham saheta. Yogena kastad viraham saheta. Drishta bhavadbhir nanurajasuye. Chaydasya Krishnam Vishatopi Siddhihi. Chaydasya Krishnam Vishatopi Siddhihi. Yam yoginat samsprihayanti samyag. Yam yoginat samsprihayanti samyag. Yogena kastad viraham saheta. Yogena kastad viraham saheta. Drishta bhavadbhir nanurajasuye. Chaydasya Krishnam Vishatopi Siddhihi. Chaydasya Krishnam Vishatopi Siddhihi. Yam yogina samsprihayanti samyag. Yam yogina samsprihayanti samyag. Yogena kastad viraham saheta. Yogena kastad viraham saheta.
Drishta bhavadbhir nanurajasuye.
Drishta bhavadbhir nanurajasuye.
Chaydasya Krishnam Vishatopi Siddhihi.
Chaydasya Krishnam Vishatopi Siddhihi.
Yam yogina samsprihayanti samyag.
Yam yogina samsprihayanti samyag.
Yogena kastad viraham saheta.
Yogena kastad viraham saheta.
Drishta bhavadbhir nanurajasuye.
Yogi Nanurajasuye
Chaidasya Krishnam Vishatopi Siddhi
Chaidasya Krishnam Vishatopi Siddhi
Yam Yogina Samsprihayanti Samyak
Yam Yogina Samsprihayanti Samyak
Yogena Kasta Viraham Saheta
Yogena Kasta Viraham Saheta. Word meanings: Drishta, it has been seen. Bhavadbihi, by your good self. Nanu, of course. Rajasuye, in the assembly of the Rajasuya sacrifice performed by Maharaj Yudhishthira. Chaidyasya, of the king of Chedi, Shishupal. Krishnam, unto Krishna. Vishataha, envying. Api, in spite of. Siddhi, success. Yam, which. Yoginaha, yogis. Samsprihayanti, verily desire. Samyak, fully. Yogena, by performance of yoga. Kaha, who. Tat, his. Viraham, separation. Saheta, can tolerate. Translation. You have personally seen how the king of Chedi, Shishupal, achieved success in yoga practice, although he hated Lord Krishna. Even the actual yogis aspire after such success with great interest by performance of their various practices. Who can tolerate separation from him? Please repeat. You have personally seen how the king of Chedi, Shishupal, achieved success in yoga practice, although he hated Lord Krishna. Even the actual yogis aspire after such success with great interest by performance of their various practices. Who can tolerate separation from him? Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Lord Krishna's causeless mercy was exhibited in the great assembly of Maharaj Yudhishthira. He was merciful even to his enemy, the king of Chedi, who always tried to be an envious rival of the Lord. Because it is not possible to be a bona fide rival of the Lord, the king of Chedi was extremely malicious towards Krishna, Lord Krishna. In this, he was like many other asuras, such as Kamsa and Jarasandha. In the open assembly of the Rajasuya sacrifice, performed by Maharaj Yudhishthira, Shishupal insulted Lord Krishna, and he was finally killed by the Lord. But it was seen by everyone in the assembly that a light flashed out of the body of the king of Chedi and merged into the body of Lord Krishna. This means that Chedi Raj achieved the salvation of attaining oneness with the Supreme, which is a perfection most desired by the jnanis and yogis, for which they execute their different types of transcendental activities. It is a fact that persons who are trying to understand the supreme truth by their personal endeavors of mental speculation or mystic powers of yoga achieve the same goal as others who are personally killed by the Lord. Both achieve the salvation of merging in the Brahmajyoti rays of the transcendental body of the Lord. The Lord was merciful even to his enemy, and the success of the king of Chedi was observed by everyone who was present in the assembly. Vidura was also present there, and therefore Uddhava referred the incident to his memory. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shlakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanascha Shri Rupam Sagunjatam Sakana Raghunathan Vitam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitansha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Korangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Vipasindubhya Patikanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasana Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here we have Uddhava continuing to speak to Vidura about his remembrance of Lord Krishna in his mood of separation. This Srimad Bhagavatam is so wonderful. It's the greatest of all books, the greatest literature. It gives us so many speeches and prayers, instructions by great devotees, and all of them in their own respective moods of devotional service. And there's no literature anywhere that can compare to this. We still have to make people understand that. Everyone is, if you go to the university, people are studying Shakespeare, they're studying Tolstoy or whoever. Everybody has this canon of great novels and literature, but they don't know, because they don't have access to these sentiments of Krishna consciousness, because they haven't been smeared with the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee, so they can't appreciate yet Srimad Bhagavatam. It's very mystical. That there's Yoga Maya. You can try to talk to people and convince them about Krishna consciousness, but unless they're fortunate, they're just not going to get it. And it's our task as servants of Srila Prabhupada to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam, and by glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam and making its glories known to the public, we will distribute millions of sets of Srimad Bhagavatam. So here, Uddhava, in his mood of separation, it's beautiful how the Bhagavatam is arranged, how here in the third canto, by this discussion of Uddhava, we get a sort of a summary of what later will appear in the 10th canto of Lord Krishna's pastimes. That Uddhava is remembering Lord Krishna's pastimes in the mood of separation after Krishna's departure. And here he's referring to Vidura, who was present in the Rajasuya sacrifice, who personally witnessed how Lord Krishna delivered Shishupal there. So there was a large sacrifice, and Maharaj Yudhishthira invited all the great personalities. They all came there, even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva and all the demigods and all the kings. And they came to that assembly to see Maharaj Yudhishthira and his brothers installed as the emperors. And Shishupal was also present, along with his friends like Jarasandha and Pondraka and other demons. Uddhava, when he was a child, he played with dolls of Krishna. He was always thinking about Krishna in great affection from the time of his birth. And similarly, Shishupal, or as Bahadak used to say in Vancouver, Shishupal, was just the opposite. He hated Krishna from the time of his birth. He could perceive how Krishna had such wonderful qualities, personal beauty, his great wisdom, all of his qualities in full, and he just could not tolerate that. As demons will do, they can't tolerate anyone being praised even. They can't tolerate one being happy. They want to be happy, and they're happy when they see others suffer. The novelist Gore Vidal wrote, "Success is not enough, others must fail." And that's the mood of an envious person. It's the opposite of a mood of devotee. Devotee, like Prahlad Maharaj, feels sorry to see others suffering and feels happy to see others succeeding. So Shishupal always hated Krishna, and he was always chanting the holy names of Krishna to blaspheme Krishna. All the different names. Oh, Govinda this and Vasudeva that. He was always blaspheming Krishna that way. And to make matters worse, Rukmini was in love with Krishna. Even though she'd never seen him, she was in love with him. And Krishna was in love with her. Rukmini is the goddess of fortune. But one of Shishupal's friends, the son of King Bhishmaka, Rukmini's brother, he made some arrangement, actually to spite Krishna. He and Shishupal wanted to spite Krishna and made some arrangement that she would be betrothed to Shishupal. So Rukmini wrote a letter, sent a message to Krishna with the Brahmana. She said that that which is meant for the lion should not be enjoyed by the jackals. And she wanted Krishna to come save her from marrying Shishupal, and Krishna immediately came. And Balaram also knew that there would be some military opposition, so he brought the Yadu army with him there. And Krishna, when Rukmini came out and was seen by the princes assembled there, they all were in love with her. They all wanted to marry her. In fact, she was so beautiful and effulgent that they fell backwards off their horses and their elephants, and Krishna just walked up and put her on his chariot to her great delight, and began riding away with her. And then they decided to, stop this. How could Krishna be taking her away? And they put up some fight. And Shishupal, it was said, he was not very competent in opposing the fight. Of course, Krishna and Rukmini were on ahead, and Balaram was back with the army fighting against the different princes. But after Balaram's army was killing so many princes, and Shishupal wasn't appearing very heroic in the situation, they all just decided, why should we fight for him to marry Rukmini? And so Shishupal, of course, was even further enraged by this. So at the time of the sacrifice, of the Rajasuya sacrifice, it's part of the sacrifice that all the persons assembled there, after they install the sacrificer, Yudhishthira Maharaj, they elect a most exalted personality in the assembly to be like the president of the sacrifice. And different people proposed, there were great personalities and demigods and sages there, but Sahadev proposed that Krishna should be the greatest. And most of the great personalities agreed. Sahadev glorified the qualities of Krishna, and so they elected Krishna to be the most exalted personality, to be the president at the sacrifice. And Shishupal just lost it. He became so furious, and he just got up and started blaspheming Krishna. And it's said that he chanted every name of Lord Krishna. And when he was blaspheming Krishna, he was actually saying things that were correct about Krishna. He was glorifying Krishna. He said, nobody knows what varna he belongs to, and he's not bound by by the regulative principles of Vedic culture, and he was saying these things which are true because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he was just seething, like you can imagine him foaming at the mouth, his eyes red, as he was just like a madman attacking Krishna's personality. And the other Kshatriyas there stood up to kill him, but Krishna just waved them off, and Krishna tolerated all this insulting to him, because Krishna doesn't, because this is his character, that he's so completely satisfied with everything. He has everything, he's the owner of everything, so insults can't bother him at all. He doesn't, like us, when someone says something bad about us, we feel, in our heart, we feel, oh, I have to retaliate, or I feel bad. Or if someone says something good about us, then we feel, oh. Of course, that's a natural tendency. Krishna likes that we glorify him. He's attracted to particularly to pure devotional service is the only thing that attracts Krishna. And the pure devotees are always chanting his glories, just like Uddhava is doing now. But Krishna was not at all disturbed. He was simply smiling, and he let Shishupal go on for some time, and then he just chopped off his head with his fiery, blazing Sudarshan disc, which is sharp as a razor. And to the astonishment of the assembly, this spark came out of Shishupal's dead body after his head was chopped off. The spark, everyone could see the spark come out of his body and then enter the body of Lord Krishna. And so this amazed the people there, and it was a sign that he had attained oneness with Krishna. Now, we know that Shishupal was one of the two gatekeepers who had been cursed to take 3 births as demons. They were offered the chance to take 3 births as devotees, to take 7 births as devotees, but they didn't want to be gone from Vaikuntha that long, so they preferred to take 3 births as demons. And first Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, and then Ravana and Kumbhakarna, and finally Shishupal and Dantavakra. And so it's said in the Krishna book, I'm sure it's there in the Bhagavatam too, I just was reading the Krishna book yesterday, but it said that first Shishupal became merged and in oneness in the Sayuja Mukti, and then afterwards he was returned to his position as the gatekeeper. Other commentators, like for example in Gopi Paranadhana's translation of Rupa Goswami's Laghu Bhagavatamrita, he mentions that Sayujya can also mean a kind of oneness, of being one in purpose, of being very close and intimate to Krishna, and not actually be losing one's personal identity. But Srila Prabhupada explains to us that first he lost his personal identity, and then he returned to Vaikuntha. So this is, and we can see Uddhava here is glorifying how Krishna is kind even to his enemies. That actual yogis who aspire after liberation in different ways, and they perform different practices with great determination, and then finally, if they're successful, they can achieve this kind of liberation. But that Krishna gives that freely to his enemies who attack him. And in the case of Shishupal, it also shows the magnanimous glories of the holy name, that Shishupal was being purified by chanting the holy name over and over again. And last, if anyone knows which, if any, of the 10 offenses to the holy name is hating Lord Krishna. Right? It's not there. Blaspheming devotees is an offense. Chanting inattentively is an offense. But Shishupal hated Krishna so much he chanted with great attention. In fact, his mind was always absorbed in hating Krishna. And so such chanting was actually very, very purifying. In fact, in the beginning of the 7th canto, Narada Muni will explain to King Yudhishthir, after seeing this event at the Rajasuya sacrifice, that demons actually can concentrate on Krishna more intensely than devotees. And Uddhava will also say that in the upcoming chapter, or maybe in this chapter, but later on in this part of the Bhagavatam, that even by meditating on Krishna with anger and envy, one becomes purified. And this is an example of Krishna's, his own magnanimous nature. He's neutral to everyone, although he especially responds to the favorable attitude of devotees by being favorable to them. And to the unfavorable attitude of the demons, he responds accordingly. Ye tamang prapadyante tang stataiva pajamyaham. That as they surrender to Krishna, he knows, Krishna is the super soul in everyone's heart. He intimately knows exactly what everyone's desire is and whatever everyone is feeling. And he responds perfectly accordingly. Although for those who want to forget him, then he puts them in charge of his external energy. But for those who are remembering him even enviously, he responds to them by personally killing them, fighting with them. And that engagement with Krishna is another kind of Krishna consciousness. It's not favorable, it's not Uttama Bhakti, but it's very purifying, and it allows people to achieve liberation. Generally by becoming one with Krishna, but in other cases, as in the case with Putana, he gave her the position of his mother, and in the case of Shishupal, he eventually restored him to his position as a gatekeeper in Vaikuntha. So this is a quality of Krishna, that he's neutral, and yet it's one of those inconceivable contradictions that are resolved in Krishna's personality, that he's neutral by responding to people just according to how they respond to him. He's the friend of all living entities, but it's a two-way street. If one doesn't deal with him in friendship, then he doesn't deal with them in friendship. He deals with them accordingly. So, Shukadeva Goswami is remembering these pastimes in this mood of great separation, which Lord Chaitanya has taught us. You know, later in the Bhagavatam, there's the discussion of the gopis' separation for Krishna, and as they're searching for Krishna, and Lord Chaitanya exhibited this mood of Radharani's separation from Krishna. Of course, Krishna had left Vrindavan. Of course, Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, but he bestowed upon the residents of Vrindavan this mood of separation, which is actually a great relishable ecstasy and a higher kind of union with Krishna. There's exchanging, that one unites with Krishna, then one is separated, and it just increases the bliss and increases the Krishna consciousness, the absorption in Krishna of the devotees, like that. So here in the Bhagavatam, that sentiment is expressed here, which, as I was saying in the beginning, it can't be understood by people who aren't devotees. And there are many commentaries on Bhagavatam, even by non-devotees, but of course non-devotees' commentaries are completely useless. But there are many wonderful commentaries by devotees, and Srila Prabhupada has distilled many of those realizations of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Jiva Goswami, and Ramanujacharya and others in his transcendental purports. So I was thinking before, I was asking Ram Govinda if he remembers the Sanskrit. There's a Rupa Goswami has written a Ashtakam, praising the holy name. And I believe it's the 7th verse. He says that the O holy name, you have 2 forms. The form that designates and that which is designated. In other words, the form of Krishna himself and the form of his name. And he says that although the 2 forms are identical, we know that the form as his name is more merciful, because one may offend the first form of Krishna in many, many ways, but then he gets all benediction by serving the name with his voice. So I was thinking about that, about Shishupal, that he was serving Krishna's name. And then, we can admire how absorbed he was in the holy name, even though he was absorbed in a repugnant mood. And so this pastime of Shishupal should remind us to chant attentively. Chanting inattentively is also offensive, but Shishupal was chanting very attentively. I had some additional things to say, which I'm now forgetting, so let's open it up for discussion at this point. People have comments, questions, and realizations.
You remember that he got a benediction that his mother was worried, because he was so envious even as a baby, Shishupal. So she was worried that Krishna might kill, something would happen to him. So he got a benediction that he would only need to blaspheme 100 times, then he would be finished. You remember more details about that?
No, is it just 100 times?
It seems like he did more, but it was 100.
He went a little over 100.
Maybe each...
Well, ultimately he went over 100, yeah.
Lord Krishna was commented that he says wait, because Bhishma and Bhima were ready to kill him. Yeah, Bhishma and Bhima were ready to kill him, and Lord Krishna says, wait, hold it. He has 100 offense. And he was going, and he even went over the 100 offense, and then Lord Krishna, shh. So this topic came up, I have a few comments and then a question. This topic came up in the 7th canto. Yudhishthira was perplexed. He said, how is it that this rascal insulted Krishna his whole lifetime? His whole lifetime he insulted Krishna. And at the end, he got liberated. It's puzzling to my mind, I cannot comprehend. And then Narad started to explain. He said, because we are on the bodily concept, we perceive duality, see, like and dislike and so. The Lord is totally transcendental. See, He is not subjected to our thinking and laws and everything like that. He is different. And so, he says, 1 of 5 ways one can become liberated. By lusty desires, like the gopis, being envious of the Lord, like Shishupal, being in fear of the Lord, like Kamsa, being in friendship with the Lord, like the Pandavas, or being devoted to the Lord, like the devotees. These 5 ways one can think. But if one is like Vena, who cannot think positive or negative of the Lord, he goes to hell. See? So that came up in the 7th canto. Yeah. So
6 ways, not 5, 6.
Possible, yeah.
So there's a key point we have to mention on the form. Key point is avesha to agamhita, the absorption. Shishupal had the absorption. All these 6 categories, they had one common thing. They had the absorption.
That's right.
That is the cause of the liberation, not enemy feeling or anything.
Right, because they were totally absorbed in their role.
In that purport, King Banner, he was also demon, but he did not have the absorption. He didn't get anything. He went to hell.
Yeah. Very good point. So that's so Narad was explaining, and also It's stated that Shishupal was so absorbed in this envious nature, so absorbed, he was constantly thinking about Krishna, constantly. And because of that great absorption, see? So, but before I go there, one other comment.
I remembered some other things that I wanted to say.
Yeah, the Rajasuya also, the Rajasuya sacrifice was done because Pandu had requested it. He had asked Narad to tell his sons, or tell Yudhishthira, to perform the Rajasuya so that he would move from Pitriloka to Indraloka. See? So that was one reason, and of course to glorify Yudhishthira also. And in that assembly, they were like Brahma, Shiva, Indra, all the demigods, and exalted person. So, Shishupal was
I remembered something that I had mentioned before, the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, this work by Rupa Goswami. And in there, Rupa Goswami is demonstrating that Krishna is the avatari. He's the original, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, that he's the original and the most full and most complete manifestation of the personality of Godhead. He's the original personality of Godhead, and all the other avatars are expansions from him or partial expansions from him. And in that book, he makes an argument where he gives evidence from different Puranas and Harivansha and others that when these three manifestations of the personality of Godhead as Lord Nrsingadev, Lord Ramachandra, and Lord Krishna, they're very special. They display all the opulences more completely. They're called the Paravastas. But when Lord Nrsingadev killed Hiranyakashipu, he didn't attain liberation. He was in the mode of passion, and even though Hiranyakashipu said, "Where is your Vishnu? Is he in this pillar?" and then he came out of the pillar. Still, Hiranyakashipu thought of him as some kind of creature of this material world that he could, because of his mode of passion, that he could fight with and defeat, and therefore, he didn't get liberation, but he got this tremendous opulence to be born as Lord Ramachandra. But then, as Ravana, I'm sorry, in the pastime of Lord Ramachandra, to be killed by Lord Ramachandra. And he was Ravana. He was so opulent. But then, as Ravana, he was distracted by the beauty of Sita, Jahnavi, and he was constantly thinking about her. And when he was killed by Rama, he thought Rama was an ordinary man, some kind of human person. He never thought to get a benediction that he wouldn't be killed by a human, because he thought, how could a human possibly kill him? But so then he wasn't able to also go back to Vaikuntha, but he became Shishupal. Ravana became Shishupal in his next life. As the king of Chedi, he also had great power and opulence. But in that birth as Shishupal, he had the good fortune to be killed by lotus-eyed Krishna, who, therefore the argument goes that he was liberated by being killed by Krishna, demonstrates that Krishna's superiority even to Lord Ramachandra and Lord Nrsingadev in terms of rasa. Yes, you.
But they came back as Jagai and Madai, right? They told him they came back as Jagai.
So when Lord Chaitanya came, there's a good. I asked that question to Rajendra. What's his name? He passed away from San Diego. Rajendra Nandana. In Mayapur one time I asked him that question. Well, they were cursed for 3 births, so why did they come again? And he said that when Lord Chaitanya appeared, giving out this special prema for free, all the great personalities wanted to come and participate. And so not only Jai and Vijay, who are great personalities in Vaikuntha, but so many different associates of Lord Krishna in different ways came and manifested their relationship with Lord Chaitanya. So Jai and Vijay, manifested this. It's when you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's like a Ramana clef. It's like the Kavi Karnapur tells who everybody really is in their relationship in the other Leelas. So they, as Jagai and Madhai, they came out as demons but got converted by Lord Chaitanya in this wonderful way. So it wasn't they weren't cursed to do that, but it was their good fortune to be able to appear during Lord Chaitanya's avatar. So I wanted to say that it's mysterious how, but I wanted to thank you for your comment about how Krishna's transcendental nature is like that. That we have to understand his transcendental nature. Janma karma chame divyame vangyovetu tattataha. And if we understand his transcendental nature, we also don't have to take birth again in this world. Then we attain to his bhava, vitaraga, bhaya krodha, manmayama pashuta, bhavo, jnanatapasa putamad bhavam agataha. We attain to his bhava. And then he says that he rewards us accordingly. So, in his, in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he talks about how Tame dveshas napriyaha ye bhajanta tamam bhaktya samohang sarvabhuteshu, that he's equally disposed. This is part of his transcendental nature, that we should also develop as devotees, as that equipoise of not being disturbed by friends or enemies. And but as devotees, for devotees, Krishna then, as the super soul, he's neutral. He's neutral as Bhagavan, but as a super soul, he's not reciprocating in this full way as a complete person. He's a witness, he's overseeing, he's sanctioning the activities. And the yogis are aspiring to understand the super soul. But Krishna comes alive as a person, as Bhagavan for his devotees. And there's this great ecstatic exchange of rasa there. So I was thinking about how people can't get the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I wanted to tell a story about how I was on Sankirtan distributing books in front of O'Neill's surf shop in Pacific Avenue in Santa Cruz. I used to go there all the time and put up a table. And there was one American yogi there. He was a follower of Haridas Baba, who was, for those who are old enough, if you remember, Richard Alpert, the Harvard professor who became Baba Ramdas after having gone to India and associated with Neem Karoli Baba. And Haridas was assigned to teach him about, anyway, Haridas was his teacher, and he had an ashram up in Mount Madonna near Santa Cruz. And they had a school there and everything. So this yogi from there used to come and see me selling books, and sometimes even giving out lollipops or cookies or something. And he used to mock me, because he thought, this is, what does this have to do with yoga? You're a merchant selling things, and you're trying to stop people and tell them about they should buy these things. So he would always come and mock me. And I would always say, but please, why don't you take a book? So one time, I had a serious conversation with him, and I said, that the devotees, they not only think about Krishna's form, but they hear about Krishna's leelas, his pastimes, they discuss them. Of course, he should know that, because in Mount Madonna they have a Ramayana play by the kids every year and things like that. So he should know something about leela, although I think Haridas Baba teaches them that it's just all allegory and it didn't really happen. And the kids, sometimes they make farcical parts of it and stuff. But I said, devotees meditate on Krishna by thinking and remembering his sweet pastimes and thinking about the different things he did when he was on earth. And he just couldn't get it, because you haven't got the mercy of a devotee somehow, and I didn't have enough mercy to convince him. He was saying, I don't need to think about that. I have a picture of Lord Krishna by my bed, and I meditate on him every day. And, like he was just assuming that that's somehow more exalted than this kind of childish activity about telling stories about Krishna's pastimes and qualities and his devotees and names and forms and so forth. So I wanted to tell that story because it's very fortunate to actually become a devotee who can appreciate Srimad Bhagavatam and who can appreciate Krishna in his form as Bhagavan. People who are too self-interested, all they want to do is become the Supreme, or at least to behold the Super Soul, to know everything that's going on. But they don't have the urge to serve the personality of Godhead and please Him. That pleasing Him, we were hearing that yesterday in class, right, with Srila Prabhupada, that we can't be self-interested, but our pleasure is Krishna's happiness, and that's a real pleasure. Other pleasure, self-interested pleasure, which is extended in humanitarianism and all these other, nationalism and so forth, is just so-called pleasure. So, I'm sorry that I interrupted you. I wanted to finish those things, and particularly to talk about the Laga Bhagavatam.
The quick question I had was that did Shishupal know that he was acting as that he was one of the keepers? Is that being indicated?
No, he didn't remember that he was a gatekeeper at the time that he was blaspheming Krishna. Mm-hmm. He was feeling like he was a rival of Krishna, but of course he can't be a rival. Haribol.
Prabhu, I think you said that Srila Prabhupada said that Shishupal lost his personal identity before he resumed his position as the gatekeeper.
Yeah, it's in the Krishna book that he first attained Sayojya Mukti and became one with the Supreme, and then he was restored to his position as the gatekeeper.
So that's what how can one even lose their personal identity?
They just have the illusion of losing it.
Okay.
They understand that qualitative oneness with the absolute truth, and then they think that's everything. They don't want to. Sometimes they're afraid of. At least they have the wisdom to know that material activities are dangerous and the cause of misery. Certain transcendentalists, and then they achieve this Brahmananda, liberation of understanding that I am that same, I am spirit, I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, and that gives them great relief. But if they don't understand transcendental personality and variety, which is a little inconceivable. It can only be understood through devotional service. So if they don't have that mood of devotional service, that opportunity, then they can't actually engage in transcendental pastimes. And the six Goswamis describe that Sayojya Mukti as like a hellish condition for them, even though it's aspired for by the great sages and things and great yogis. They consider it like a devouring mouth of liberation. It says in Srinivasacharya's song that if you might have to stay in that condition for a very long time, if you just achieve liberation that way, you won't get to the ecstasy of service, which is much higher happiness, millions of times happier. Haribol Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you for the wonderful class. Just a comment on her question.